Sweet Success is brought to you by Hospitality.fm, the podcast network for hospitality professionals.
I'm Leo Ghitis, and you're listening to Sweet Success.
You've just checked in to Sweet Success. Join me, Katie Cline, for exclusive conversations with hotel executives, hospitality leaders, and industry innovators. Together, we'll uncover the strategies and techniques these masters of hospitality relentlessly refine. Whether you're already in the industry or just starting out, tune in every week to unlock the secret to your sweet success. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Sweet Success. I'm your host, Katie Cline, and today we have a very special Earth Day-inspired episode for you all. I'm thrilled to welcome Leo Ghitis, owner of Nayara Resorts, to the show. As an incredible supporter of the environment and local communities, Leo first began with a 20-room, 3-star hotel in Costa Rica and has since created a trio of luxury resorts in the Costa Rican rainforest: Nayara Springs, Nayara Gardens, and Nayara Tented Camp. He then expanded the brand into Chile and Panama, bringing the portfolio up to 6 extraordinary properties, all of which employ a conservation-forward approach. In addition to being incredible for the environment, these hotels have also been voted #1 in the world by publications like Travel and Leisure and guides like TripAdvisor. Leo, thank you so much for being here today.
Katie, thank you for having me. Very excited to be here.
Oh, we're so happy to have you. It's just amazing timing with it having just been Earth Day, and Nayara Resorts is a true leader in eco-luxury travel. And I know the company's mission is to actually go beyond sustainability towards regenerative travel. So can you tell me a little bit about what that means?
Katie, thank you for asking that question. That's very close to my heart. Sustainability is wonderful. What sustainability refers to is preserving nature and the natural environment, which is great. But we've moved beyond that. We feel that it's much more than just nature, as important as that is. We, as businessmen, have a responsibility towards the people that work with us and the communities where we operate. With regards to nature, it's not enough to preserve nature. We feel that it's also our obligation to restore nature to its former glory. And I hope I'll have in your program I'll have the time to tell your listeners all the things we do in that regard.
That's amazing. There's so much to unpack here, and just going through your website, looking at each of the properties, I was blown away because they look absolutely gorgeous. And then to know that you have that at the heart as well, it just feels so magical. So I want to switch gears for a second, and then we'll go back, because you're from Colombia originally. You moved to the US when you were 17 years old. You studied engineering at Georgia Tech and then earned an MBA at Harvard Business School. And then from there, you chose a career in real estate development. And the reason I wanted to jump here is because everything you just said almost seems a little bit of an antithesis to real estate development. And I love what you're saying is they don't have to be. So what made you choose that world? What type of projects were you working on? And how quickly did that focus on sustainability and regeneration come into play?
Real estate was an accident of life. I didn't choose to go into real estate. Real estate chose me. As I was graduating from business school, I had no idea what I wanted to do. And I was recruited at Harvard by a wonderful company called Trammell Crow. Trammell Crow company still exists, but it was acquired by C.B. Richard Ellis. And I really didn't know what I wanted to do. But I knew I wanted to move to someplace warm. I was living in Boston and was very cold. I used to get sick all the time with those winters, and I wanted to move south. And Trammell Crow offered me an opportunity to come work in the Miami area. And it was a wonderful company, still is an amazing company. And I'll be forever grateful for the opportunity they gave me. I ended up working for them for 10 years. I became a partner in the firm, and they taught me everything I know about real estate. And when Trumbull Crow went public, I decided that I didn't want to work for a huge public company. So I started my own company. And over the years, it's been a lot of years, close to 40 years, I've developed properties or invested or purchased companies pretty much along the East Coast of the US. Different kinds of properties, industrial parks, office buildings, apartment communities, self-storage. A bunch of different things.
Wow. And are those types of projects what you had been working on for the 10 years prior to the company going public?
Yes.
Okay.
I run the office industrial group for Trumbull Grove for South Florida. And
Okay.
like everybody at Trumbull Grove back then, I started as a leasing agent. I used to lease properties almost door to door. And eventually they gave me the opportunity to become a partner with the firm, again, something that I'm very grateful for. And I started with nothing. And thanks to Trumbull Grove, I was able to build a little net worth, which allowed me to branch into my real passion now, which is sustainable hospitality.
Wow. So was that always the North Star for you? Was it always something in the back of your head that you're like, one day, once I have money saved, I'm going to do this? Or was it as you progressed through your career, through your life, that you started to think, I think I actually want to go into hospitality as opposed to just straightforward real estate?
It's another accident of life. um, I was born and raised in a city in Colombia called Cali.
Mhm.
And we moved. I moved to the States when I was fairly young. When when my children became a little older, teenagers, they wanted to go visit Cali. And back then, sadly, Cali had become very dangerous. You've probably seen all of these Netflix episodes about Cali during those years. And we couldn't go to Cali. So we, a good friend of ours, which was a neighbor at that time, is from Costa Rica. And she said, why don't you come? She understood that my children wanted to go to Colombia, to Cali, and that we couldn't take them because it was dangerous. So she said, why don't you come to Costa Rica? Costa Rica looks just like Colombia, but it's completely and totally safe. So we, with our 3 children, we went to Costa Rica. And it was love at first sight. And I'm going to confess something that now is a little embarrassing. I had never heard the word sustainability.
Wow.
And I didn't know anything about that. And we spent a week in Costa Rica, and we discovered a new world. I truly love and admire deeply Costa Rica because the term green was known in Costa Rica before it became part of our lexicology. Costa Rica care about the environment before we all spoke about it, and the story is remarkable. In 1940, 75% of Costa Rica were forests. 40 years later, most of those forests had disappeared.
Wow.
One of the fastest deforestation of any country in the world. And what makes Costa Rica, what sets Costa Rica apart is that the country realized what was happening, and they came together and they made a decision as a country, as a community, that they needed to reverse that. In 1980, I think 40 years later, I'm trying to remember the exact numbers. I think 80% of Costa Rica was already covered with forest.
Wow.
It was a decision that the government and the people made. Costa Rica is now one of the greenest countries in the world. 25% of the country is set aside for national parks. When I went to Costa Rica, and Costa Rica was in the middle of that reforestation project. And the nature guides that we work with that showed the country told us about that. And it was truly inspiring. And at that point, I said, I want to be part of this story.
Yeah.
And I started looking for an opportunity to get involved in anything that had to do with sustainability. And hopefully later in your program, I'll be able to talk a little bit about my sustainability journey.
That would be amazing. I mean, let's jump in right now. I read that you really kind of started in terms of the Nayara story during the Great Recession. You got involved with a small 24-room, 3-star hotel in Costa Rica. Is that the beginning of your sustainability journey too, or did that even start before that?
Yes, well, that's how it started. I went back to the U.S. and always thinking about Costa Rica. Always thinking, how can I give back? How can I give my life a little bit more meaning? And always looking for what could I do in Costa Rica. And I was very, very fortunate that a cousin of my father-in-law had started with 5 other partners a little project in the rainforest in Costa Rica. And at a certain point, as he was finishing his hotel with his partners, he offered me the opportunity to get involved, and I jumped at the opportunity. And over time, my father-in-law's cousin is called Angelo, and he's one of my closest friends in the world. And he retired a few years ago, but he taught me a lot of the things that I know now. And all of the partners either decided that they wanted to move on, so I ended up buying them. One of the original 6 partners, who is someone that I admire deeply. He was a young person when we got involved. I think he was between 20 and 25 years old. A remarkable person, really extraordinary partner, who grew up with nothing and is now one of the most important businessmen in the area where the hotel is, or perhaps all of Costa Rica.
Wow.
So that's how I got involved in the hotel business. Again, a complete accident of life.
Were the other partners who were involved coming from a hospitality background? Because I understand from your experience that you would have a very good sense of development, real estate, etc. But I imagine that the hospitality side of things was new to you.
It was totally new. I'm not a hotel person by background. I had no idea what I was doing. My partners knew much more than me. But I've always loved to travel. I've always had a lot of curiosity about other cultures. And I had spent a bunch of time in Southeast Asia, mostly in Thailand. And Thailand had then, still has it, an amazing hospitality industry. And what you find in Thailand are these small boutique hotels that are ultra personalized. Back then, and this is just during the time of the Great Recession, those kinds of small boutique hotels did not exist on this hemisphere. And I thought it was a great idea to do it. Again, it's easy to dream and dream big, but when you don't know anything about what you're dreaming about, and that's kind of what I took the lead on. Um, I think my dream at that point still is was to combine my obsession at that point, at then and now, uh, with sustainability, with my other obsession, which is customer service.
Hmm.
And so back then, it's interesting. Most luxury brands uh, didn't think that it was possible to combine sustainability and social responsibility with luxury.
Yeah.
And and that's kind of that was my dream, and it worked out really, really, really well.
It's true. And I would even say to this day, you don't see it being done as much or as well as you would hope. You hear a lot of excuses, particularly around cost. And that's why I was so excited to talk to you today, because I think you are living proof that you can have both. I mean, the accolades for the properties alone speak volumes, but going specifically to sustainability, I read that Costa Rica is home to 12 unique ecosystems and 500,000 species.
Mm.
98% of the country's energy comes from renewable sources. And
Mm.
equally, if not more impressive, is that your 3 resorts there have achieved complete carbon neutrality. How did you make that possible?
That's a long story. I'm going to try to make it short for
We've
you.
got time.
Okay. Um, this is this is part of my sustainability journey. When at the beginning we knew we wanted to be sustainable. We knew that that was part of our ethos, and that was kind of what motivated us. We did not know how to do it. So at the beginning, we started improvising. We were probably the first hotel in Central America, or one of the first ones to stop using plastics. We started changing lighting so that we would not conserve so much, so we would not use so much energy. We started doing a lot of little things, but we realized that that was not enough. So we made the decision to hire a consulting firm. And that consulting firm helped us tremendously. We basically set up a strategy, a 10-year strategy. So every year we would try to reach certain goals. They would come, they would review if we were making progress, and we would adapt. And I would recommend to anybody who wants to become truly sustainable, it is complicated, it is hard work, but I have to tell you, it really pays off. So what I would say is don't do it on your own. Hire an expert that can help you. And along this journey, we did a lot of small things, which we still do. I mean, we educate everybody that comes to work with us about sustainability. But I would say that what really got the attention of travel editors and writers and basically guests around the world is the big reforestation that we did several years ago. Um, we had purchased a little mountain uh, that is located, again, we're talking just Costa Rica now, located in the middle of the rainforest. But that mountain had been totally decimated, destroyed by cattle ranchers.
Hmm.
I remember the first time when I went to the mountain, it was tremendously sad because there was absolutely nothing, not a butterfly, nothing. There was zero wildlife. I mean, and something that I didn't realize until then is that when you cut trees, especially in a mountain and especially in the middle of a rainforest, because you also destroy the the root system of those trees that are the one that, and that's what keeps the topsoil. So every time it rained, that mountain became a river of mud coming down,
Right.
and all over effort. I mean, at the end of the day, we planted over 30,000 plants and trees on this
Wow.
mountain. At the beginning, we failed miserably because every time that it rained, everything that we planted would go down.
Right.
So we ended up hiring a architect from Australia, who's one of the foremost um, a reforestation architects in the world, and he helped us to do it. So we started by bringing thousands and thousands of big boulders, and we created terraces so that we could stabilize the mountain. But fast forward nowadays, because we made the decision, let me back up for a minute, that we wanted to bring back the rainforest. And when we did it, we didn't know the challenge that we were undertaking. But nowadays, it is not this mountain. It's not by any stretch of the imagination a mature rainforest, but we're getting there. And what's incredibly rewarding for me and what gives me a lot of hope for the future is that this mountain, where there was absolutely nothing, is now thriving. And you see, we have two families of just two species of monkeys. We have all kinds of birds. The mountain is full of wildlife. And that mountain is where we built Nayara Tented Camp. And the message that I always give to my colleagues and competitors is that even if you don't believe in sustainability, even if you don't believe in social responsibility, do it because it's a good business. And the reason why I'm saying that, Nayara Tented Camp is one of the most successful projects in the world. We do extremely well. And when I ask guests there, why are you here? They come because they want to be part of this incredible sustainability project. And that camp is one of the most successful private reforestations ever done anywhere in the world.
That's such a powerful story. And I like that you're tying it back to business, because I think that's how you get people to pay attention. So as you're telling that story and you're saying, all the challenges and having to fly in a specialist from Australia, not only is it challenging and time consuming, but I imagine it's financially consuming as well. So the fact that you can then show others that, yes, it was, but now look at what it's paying off. And not to mention, again, to go back to the accolades that you've received as well, it really is a proof point of you can do good, and then you can also have a profitable business as well.
Yes, Nayara Tinted Camp has been named a few years ago. We were very excited that Nayara Tinted Camp was named by Travel and Leisure the number 2 hotel in the world. Nayara Tinted Camp, since we finished it, for the last 4 years, has been named every year the number 1 hotel or resort in Central America.
Wow.
And the reason, in all candor, I don't know if we're the number 2 hotel in the world. I don't know if we're the number 1 hotel in Central America. I like to think so. But the reason why we get those accolades is because our guests that come to the event that come fall in love with the project. And again, the project is beautiful. But the real reason why guests fall in love with the camp and all of our project is because of our sustainability story.
The next time you're traveling or celebrating an important occasion, book a photographer photo shoot. They make it easy to capture memories by connecting you with hand-picked professional photographers in over 350 destinations around the world. I should know. Capturing memories with family and friends is super important to me, and I've booked photographers from Maine to Paris to London. A photographer shoot is an essential part of every trip I plan. They also have an incredible affiliate and travel advisor program. Add a photo shoot to your customer's next itinerary and earn 10% commission. Visit flytographer.com/sweet success for $25 off your first shoot, or to sign up as an affiliate or travel advisor. That's flytographer.com/sweet, like hotel suite success. Something else that I read about your properties in Costa Rica was that you planted more than 1,000 Cecropia trees, which creates a sanctuary for sloths. How did you come up with that idea? And tell us a little bit about that story too.
I would like to take credit for that, but that was actually someone on my team, actually with my wife, now that I think about it. Um, we had realized that we love sloths. Um, and my wife has always been fascinated with sloths. And when something that we notice is sloths stay in the higher branches of the trees. And sometimes when the baby sloth drops to the ground, the mother is afraid to go down because of predators.
Mm.
So we started adopting all of these baby sloths, and we decided to create a sanctuary for them where they would be safe. But what's funny and interesting is that the baby sloths rebel against us, and they decided that we had built biological corridors between our three hotels in the Arenal Volcano National Park. And one day they decided that they didn't want to be in this sanctuary. So they left the sanctuary and taking advantage of the biological corridors. And now we have um, we have sloths everywhere in all of our hotels. And the same biological corridors have been used by wildlife to populate all of our hotels.
Wow.
And I find it fascinating because all of a sudden we find a new species of monkeys. And we say, I mean, we never had monkeys in this area of the Arenal Volcano National Park. We just never had it. And all of a sudden we see or hear a new monkey. And I mean, this gives me so much hope towards the future because what I've learned in my short 15 years that I've been doing this is that if you plant trees, if you bring the forest, you don't have to do anything else. Mother Nature takes care of everything, and we're seeing it. I mean, our three hotels where we had limited wildlife not too long ago are teeming with wildlife. I mean, you anywhere you walk, any place you see, it's full of all kinds of birds and monkeys and sloths. And we didn't do anything. We just all we did was protect the wildlife and plant lots and lots and lots of trees.
That's incredible. And also one of the most quintessential teenage stories of the sloths being like, this is too good here. We're just gonna go venture out. We no matter the species, the teenager has to rebel.
Yes, correct.
In addition to all the incredible work you're doing for the environment in Costa Rica, I was really impressed to learn about your work with local communities. And I think this goes back to what you were talking about with regenerative travel earlier. I heard that you created a housing community for Nayara employees, which allows them to take ownership of a new home, skip the down payment, and immediately start paying a mortgage and building equity. And that's not even contingent on employment. They could literally quit the next day and it would still be their home. How did you make that possible? And what was the thinking behind it?
That is correct. Um, you know what? I don't like to say anything bad about anybody in our industry. So I'm going to be very careful here. What has happened in the area of Costa Rica where we operate also happened in a lot of other places is that short-term rentals, and I'm not going to name any company so I don't get in trouble with anyone, uh, have had a difficult impact on these local rural communities where we operate. Because what has happened is that the local people in these communities that own little homes, little apartment, little or big, whatever, they used to rent those properties to the people that work at the hotels in the area. And because it's much more profitable for them, for these local landlords, to rent their homes or apartments to tourists, they don't want to rent them to the people that work in the community.
Right.
So we started noticing that a lot of people that work for us uh, couldn't find where to live. And actually, when their leases expired, they were just kicked out. And so there's a real housing crisis in a lot of rural communities where short term rentals have become so important. So we started helping the people that work for us on a case by case. And again, I give credit this to my wife, and who came up with the idea with the help of my partner, Freddie. And what we ended up doing is buying a large piece of land, beautiful with forests. And what we decided to do is to subdivide that land. We're bringing water, sewer, utilities, and we're subdividing that property. And we're helping the people who are most in need, most vulnerable, to basically own their own homes. And what you were saying, which is the key here, this is not a tool to retain anybody. Once they sign the dotted line, the house is theirs. So what we do is we provide we provide the lots, and we also teamed up with a local bank, and the bank understood from day one that this was not a venture for them to make money. It was part of it's a social project.
Yeah.
So we chose the people who are in most need, which sadly is mostly women, head of household, that are that that are separated or have been abandoned by their husbands. Um, Part of what we were trying to accomplish, we wanted to make sure that the children of these single women or head of household would grow in community, because we've always been concerned that in situations like that, children are very susceptible to drugs and crime. And we felt that if they all grew together in a community, we would protect the children. So that was the idea. It's the first project of its kind that we've done. The idea is that we will continue doing it, so that hopefully we can provide housing to most of the people in our hotels that really need it. And the reason I'm very happy that you are asking this question, we are we're a small company, and our impact is limited. But I believe that every businessman, every not hotel, but every person that owns a small or medium or large company has the ability to do what we are doing. And I think that if we all do it, we're really going to make a huge impact on the housing crisis that I was talking to you about.
Yeah. And I wouldn't say your impact is limited at all. I mean, if you look at what you've done environmentally for the sloths, for the mountain, now for these people, for these children, I mean, it's really incredible. And you mentioned earlier, a small-ish portfolio. You currently have the 3 hotels in Costa Rica. You have 2 in Chile and 1 in Panama. What made you choose Chile and Panama as the next countries to invest in? Did you see a similar appetite for sustainability and regeneration? Or was it just a personal love? Or how did those come about?
Well, I'm going to have to go back many, many, many years. I told you I was born and raised in Colombia.
Hmm.
My mother is from Peru, and when I used to go to Peru all the time, and I started. My uncle manufactures flooring products. So the first job that I got, he hired me to sell his flooring products in Chile. And I was pretty young then. I was basically a kid. I guess I was 18 years old. And and that was the first time I traveled to Chile.
Hmm.
Chile is one of the most fascinating countries in the world. For your listeners that are not familiar with the geography of Chile, Chile is very long and narrow, like 4,000, roughly 4,000 miles long. I think about 100 miles wide. And it's a country of contrast because it goes all the way south to what's called the Patagonia area, which is right there next to the Antarctic. In the middle of the country, you have the driest desert in the world. I mean, drier than the Sahara, which is better known. In the north, there are tropical forests. So in Chile, you have all the all the climates in the world. It's an interesting country. It has the highest active volcano in the world because I was always fascinated with Chile. And then I was approached by a wonderful philanthropic family in Chile, and we got involved, and I got involved with them. We have two amazing, truly amazing hotels. One is in this driest desert in the world called the Atacama Desert. We have a hotel. It's called Nayara Atacama. Is the only hotel in the only oasis in the Atacama Desert, and something that makes me extremely proud is that that hotel which used to be powered by a diesel plant because in the desert you don't have access to utilities in Chile.
Right.
Last year we went down to 300 kilos of carbon that we emit into the atmosphere. This year will be carbon neutral as well, which we are already in Costa Rica. And so that's one of the things that make me vibrate.
Yeah.
So we're glad to have this. I think it's the most spectacular hotel in continental Chile. Just to know that hotel this year will be carbon neutral. The other hotel that we have in Chile, which is also fascinating, is a hotel in Easter Island, and again something that makes me extremely proud. This hotel is actually owned by Rapa Nui. Rapa Nui is the name of the inhabitants of Easter Island, and this, which is probably again the best known, the top hotel in Easter Island, is owned by the people from Easter Island.
Wow.
I hope your listeners will come and visit. It's walking distance to the beach where the first inhabitants of Easter Island, which came from Polynesia, arrived in their boats hundreds of years ago. And from the hotel, short walk, and you can see the moais, those famous statues that have made Easter Island so famous around the world.
So how did you do that? Like make it owned by the residents there?
No, this hotel was always owned by local inhabitants, the Rapa Nui, and they have a partnership with this family in Chile. And I was introduced to the family in Chile, and I mean, something that is extremely important for me, especially in the stage in life I am in now, is I want to do business with people that believe in the same things that I believe in, and meaning social responsibility, sustainability, and this family is exactly like that. We teamed up before the pandemic, and it is a wonderful relationship. So I spoke to you about Chile. Panama is very similar to Costa Rica. And what's interesting, everybody knows about Costa Rica. Costa Rica is an amazing brand. Everybody knows about biodiversity. I mean, I already know that Costa Rica is one of the most biodiverse countries in the world. What people are not aware of is that Panama is extremely similar to Costa Rica. And I think the reason is because of the location.
Mm.
Panama is the land bridge between South and the rest of the continent. So I think as a result of that, species travel back and forth between South America and the rest of the continent. So Panama, again, unknown by most people, is one of the countries that has the most amount of biodiversity. So I mean, living in Colombia, living in the U.S., I've traveled to Panama all the time, mostly on business, but I discovered Panama along the way, and again, I was extremely lucky that this gentleman, who is a absolute visionary, his name is Dan Beam, he had acquired a little island off the Atlantic coast of Panama, and he built something that is really unique. The island is completely 100% sustainable, self-contained. Uh, all power is generated by solar panels.
Wow.
We collect rainwater for potable water, and we have on this island overwater villas, which is, I mean, when you hear overwater villas, you think about the Maldives, you think about Bora Bora. You don't realize that you have this amazing, amazing product right here in Panama. And what's really unique about this project, besides the fact that it's a self-contained island, is that the very close to it, there's an archipelago of little islands. These islands have never been inhabited by human beings, and each one is completely different. And we have we have a fleet of little boats and captains that are nature guides. So our guests have the ability to visit all of these islands. So all
Wow.
of our hotels are very, very unique, and again, super high end, the ultra personalized, but also taking into account that our call in life is to basically preserve the environment and create jobs and help the local communities.
That's so cool. And it almost sounds like a safari in a way, of where you would take a vehicle and get to see the animals existing in their natural habitat. It's very similar. Instead, you're taking a boat and you're getting to visit these islands where these little ecosystems have been preserved because people aren't living there. And I imagine the guides are making sure that, nothing's being left behind or anything as well. But what an incredible opportunity for your guests.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Besides Costa Rica, Chile, and Panama, do you have any plans for expansion outside of those three countries? Do you have plans for expansion within those three countries? What's next for Nayara?
Kathy, when we have a lot of projects underway in different areas, we do not like to announce any projects until we actually break ground.
Wow.
So you and your listeners will forgive me that there's not much that I can say. What I'll just talk about the hotels that have been leaked, that have been that we have not announced, but somehow have made it to the press. So we've been working on a couple of hotels in the rainforest of Puerto Rico, and that's been on the news. And there's a wonderful family that basically got us involved with that project, and they decided to go to Spain, and we're fortunate that we're going with them to Spain. So the idea is also to build in Nayara, outside Cuenca.
Wow.
So we're working on that. Yeah, this amazing family that in Chile, and their organization want to expand in Chile. So again, we're also working on a few projects with them, and we have a number of other projects And again, I apologize that I cannot share too much information about them.
That's okay. We will all just follow along on social
Mm.
media and wherever else Nayara is to watch this space and be excited about what's coming next.
Yeah, but the only thing what I can tell you is that our philosophy is that wherever we go, um, we have to we the Nayara hotel has to be the best hotel in that market, with extraordinary customer service and total sustainability. So all of our hotels are completely different, but they just share a few things in common. Number one, they are in extraordinary locations of amazing natural beauty. They all are have amazing customer service, and we want to think that all of our hotels are the top hotels wherever we go.
Wow. Well, I am excited as a prospective guest, and I am even more excited for Mother Earth because I feel like wherever you guys go, good things will follow. So I'm very excited to see what's coming next. And one last question I wanted to ask you before I ask you the last three questions that I ask everyone is, do you have any predictions or maybe hopes for the future of sustainable tourism?
I'm very optimistic, uh, because being sustainable is good for business. What we found is that the younger generations really, really care about sustainability. And as I mentioned before, I think one of the reasons why we've been successful is because people, especially younger people, want to spend their money in hotels that care about the environment and hotels that are socially responsible. And I think that's why they come to Nayara. And as other hoteliers realize that the way to be successful and grow their businesses is to appeal to people that care about this, we'll see more and more hotels become sustainable, whether they may not do it because they believe in it, but they will do it because it's good for business.
Right, right. As long as they're doing it, we're happy.
Exactly. That's the idea, and that's why I love to talk to people like you, because that's what I want everybody to learn. Even if you
Yeah.
don't believe in sustainability, do it because it's good for business.
Incredible. Well, Leo, I want to ask you the final three questions that I ask everyone. And the first is, what was the best hospitality experience that you've ever had?
This is an interesting story. When we were working on our tented camp, tents had never been built in a in a weather like Costa Rica, like there in Albuquerque National Park where it rains so much. Um, we spent a bunch of time in Africa looking at different tented projects. I was in Botswana in a little tiny lodge, and the woman that was my host told me the story that before these lodges were built in Africa, especially in this area of Botswana, they perceived that elephants were their enemies because they would go on their little villages and they would destroy the harvest.
Mm,
So she told me, I'm embarrassed to admit, but we would kill elephants
mm,
because they were killing or or harvest. They were destroying our harvest. When the lodges came to Africa, the natives, the people from these areas in Africa, realized that the reason people were coming to these hotels was to see elephants, and they became the biggest defenders of elephants,
mm.
and they were the ones who protected the elephants from the poachers. And that realization, in a way, changed my life because I realized the power of the kind of hospitality that we're involved with. What we
Wow.
realize is that because of the hotels that we build and operate are actually what are sustaining nature. and was protecting our natural environment. So I would say that that experience may not have been the best hotel that I've stayed in my life, but for me, it is the most important because I think it really changed my life.
Yeah. And on the entire flip side of that experience, what was the worst hospitality experience you've ever had?
Ooh, you know that I have this philosophy of never saying anything bad about
You don't have
any
to name
topic or
names, but we could just
but
pull out
I'll
themes.
I'll tell you a story that has to do with sustainability again. Um, I love Vietnam, so anybody who's listening from Vietnam, please don't take this the wrong way. But all my life had seen the beautiful pictures of Pulan Bay, those magnificent cliffs that come out of the ocean. So I finally went to Vietnam and went to Pulan Bay. And I love to swim. And I got up really early in the morning and I went swimming in Pulan Bay. And I was so disappointed, so saddened that the water was full of bottles,
Oh,
plastic bags. Uh, what was a pristine and beautiful area, I'm sure many years ago, it's just, there's a lot of garbage in the water. And I guess my point there is you can have the most beautiful geography, the most beautiful area in the world, like Pulan Bay. I mean, it's truly gorgeous. But if you do not preserve the natural environment, if you don't take care of nature, it doesn't mean anything.
right. And final question for you. What does hospitality mean to you? And is there anyone, a person, a brand that you think has truly mastered it?
There are a lot of brands that I admire. There's one brand that I admire most than anybody else, which is called Singita.
Mm.
Singita is a collection of eco lodges in Africa. And when I was telling the story of the little lodge I stayed in Botswana many years ago, I think they've done that on a larger level. They are in a lot of countries in Africa, and Nayara and Singita are very similar in the sense that we have merged luxury, basically ultra personalized hospitality, and sustainability and social responsibility, and that's the reason why I admire the work that they do.
Yeah. Well, Leo, thank you so much for your time today. This conversation has been such an inspiration and has actually given me a lot of hope for the future of our world. So thank you for everything you're doing.
Okay, thank you so much, and look forward to having you at any of our hotels.
Oh,
Very soon.
my bags are packed. I am ready.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you again.
All right, everyone. It's time for today's sweet summary, where I break down the key insights and actionable takeaways from today's conversation. I am truly inspired after talking to Leo. Not only do I want to immediately hop on a plane to Costa Rica, Panama, or Chile to visit one of his incredible resorts, but for the first time, maybe ever, I really have hope for the future of this world. If more people like Leo were in charge, imagine the impact that could make. A theme that surfaced repeatedly in our conversation was what Leo called accidents of life. The moments or opportunities we can't predict or plan for, but somehow guide us to exactly where we're meant to be. He's the first to admit the times when he had no idea. For example, when he first got started in real estate development. He had never heard the word sustainability prior to his first trip to Costa Rica, and he had no experience in operating a hotel or delivering the level of customer service he experienced in Thailand before he first got involved with what would become Nayara in the future. But in each of these moments, Leo stayed curious. He learned, he adapted. And not only did he succeed, he built a collection of award-winning resorts that now set the global standard for sustainable luxury. There were many gems of wisdom in today's episode, but 3 really stuck with me. First, set 10-year goals and find someone, perhaps a consultant, who will hold you accountable to them. Second, only do business with people who align with your values. And third, give back every chance you get. Whether Leo's saving baby sloths, reforesting a once decimated mountain, or developing affordable housing solutions for local communities, he proves that hospitality can be a powerful force for good. And that concludes another episode of Sweet Success. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please subscribe, rate, and review the show. We all know how important those 5-star reviews are. I also want to say a massive thank you to each and every one of you for tuning in. It means the absolute world to me. And I'd love to hear from you. If you have ideas for future guests, new topics to cover, or even just want to say hi, don't be shy. Message me through our website, sweetsuccesspodcast.com, or on social media @sweetsuccesspodcast. That's sweet like hotel suite. Once again, I'm your host, Katie Cline, and I'm super excited to see you all next week.